This is going to be an introduction to a new blog that I just started. What this blog is going to be about is, first of all, it's called To Crack the Code. And basically what we're doing at this blog is just looking at general information, looking at numbers through the idea of gematria, which is the idea of coding letters into numbers and words into numbers, to find a hidden meaning that is put forth by some sort of global elite. And there's a couple of things that I want to point out first. The first thing that we're going to consider is that Pythagoras believed that all is number. Pythagoras is often considered the first true mathematician. He's the one that created gematria. The Pythagoreans believed all is number, meaning that everything in the universe depended on numbers. They were also the first to teach that the Earth is a sphere that revolves around the sun. The other thing that this channel and this blog that I've created is based on, to coincide with the idea that all is number, is that knowledge is power. A lot of times in our daily lives, do we forget the things that we learned in our recent past? And I'm not even talking about history before us, like what our fathers knew. I'm talking about even like what we knew. So like for example, I have a younger brother so when I was in the 8th grade, he was in the 5th grade. When I was in the 9th grade, he was in the 6th grade, so on and so forth. And I remember one time, I don't know what we were talking about, but we were talking about the idea of, I think I had asked like how many days are in whatever month it was. And my brother started counting on his knuckles, and he said 31. And I said, oh wow, how did you do that? And he said, well, have you ever heard of the knuckle months? And I was like, no, I don't know that I heard of that. Thinking that maybe that I had, but just forgot. So he showed me what the knuckle months were. And if you don't know, I'll explain just really quick. If you count the months on your knuckles, so starting with January on the first knuckle, February in between the first and second knuckle, March on the third knuckle, and so on and so forth, you'll find that all the months that fall on the knuckle, which are called knuckle months, have 31 days on them. What's interesting about this is that even if you count to the end of your knuckle, so January, February, March, April, May, June, July, the months that I emphasized all fall on the knuckle. And even when you get to July, July falls on a knuckle month, which means it has 31 days. And then when you start all over again, August also falls on your knuckle, which also makes it a month with 31 days, which is true in the Gregorian calendar. So again, all is number and knowledge is power. And that is what this blog and that is what this YouTube channel will be about. So this is my blog. It is called To Crack the Code.blogspot.com. My email address is tocrackthecode@hotmail.com. I'm very new to blogging. I've never done it before. And the reason why that should be important is because there are typos in this blog, excuse me. And I don't know how to edit to correct those typos. But we're going to go through this. And again, this is an introduction to what this channel is going to be about. So again, I am called To Crack the Code, and I'll just read this little intro at the top. I was inspired to begin blogging my thoughts on the world and the corrupt nature of sports and media by a fellow blogger named Zachary K. Hubbard. He can be found at freetofindtruth.blogspot.co.id. I hope he doesn't mind that I mention him. I'm sure he doesn't. I want to go ahead and explain further on this first sentence right here. You know, the idea of blogging my thoughts on the world and the corrupt nature of sports and media. While that is about 50% true, I have come to the idea that I want this blog to be a little more informational. So while Zachary Hubbard does a lot with taking a look at the numbers in gematria inside of all of our media, all of our sports, all of the things that you see on TV, or what have you, I also want to do a little bit of that, but I also want to take a look at some knowledge that we as a people may have forgotten, and the idea that maybe we just need to be reminded of some of this knowledge that we don't know of, or that we used to know of as a people, but just don't know of anymore, because it's not used or applied every day in our daily lives. I was one of those guys who thought the sports I saw on TV was real, and that there was no way they could be fixed. That is not so anymore. Here is a typo. There's supposed to be a period here. So I'm here to crack the code. And again, that is the introduction to this blog, to this YouTube channel. The very first thing that I want to talk about, and you can see here that this blog was created November 18th, 2016. The very first thing that I want to talk about is the alphabetic order, and the idea that our letters are placed at a certain value for a specific reason. And before reading this, I'll go ahead and show this picture. So the alphabetical order, the lowercase letters A through Z is 1 through 26. Capital A through capital Z is 27 through 52. One of the things that I find most interesting about this is, and we'll go on further, but we'll just take a look, that G, big G, is 33, which is the number of Freemasonry. A lot of times, I've heard that 26 would be considered the God number, which is funny because if you take the letter G, which is 7, the letter O, which is 15, and the letter D, which is 4, that will equal 26. 15 plus 4 is 19, plus 7 is 26. One of the things that I think is most interesting, even if you don't want to believe in the idea of gematria or anything of the sort as it relates to the entire conspiracy of what we're talking about, one of the things that is interesting is the knowledge you will attain. In watching Zachary Hubbard's channel, all of his videos that I've been watching for the last couple of weeks or months, it's pretty amazing to me how he automatically knows that, for example, R is the 18th letter of the alphabet. He has such quick recall in knowing that J is the 10th letter of the alphabet. If you go to his vlog, he's got a teaching to gematria vlog, and one of the things that he points out is if you list the alphabet A through J and then K through T, you'll find that J is the 10th letter, T is the 20th letter, and then Z obviously will be the 26th letter. There was Fox. So if you list them, F is the 6th letter, O is the 15th letter, and X is the 24th letter. And when you write the letters down, I think it's A through J, and then K through T, and then U through Z. The horizontal row, there will be a row that shows FOX, which would be 6, 15, and 24. So that is a shorthand method of remembering. If you know, like, if you knew that J was 10, then you would know that K is 11, and so on and so forth. And if you remembered that T is 20, you'll always remember that S is 19. And again, down here, A through Z, as far as the letters capitalized, I have no way of having a quick recall type memory on like whether or not S is 45 or O is 41. But again, it's just interesting to note, and we'll talk about it more, what big G represents. We'll be told that in Freemasonry, G is equivalent to 42. So again, the alphabetic order. The alphabetic order is a numeric system of assigning value to each letter of the alphabet based on where they fall as it relates to the alphabetic order. Gematria is a Kabbalistic method of interpreting the Hebrew scriptures by computing the numerical value of words based on those of their constituent letters. So, again, we have this picture, which indicates A through Z is 1 through 26, and capital A through capital Z is 27 through 52. The highest order of Freemasonry is the 33rd degree. Notice how in the alphabetic order, the 33rd letter is big G. That's not something that I think is mentioned a whole lot. You'll see that G equals 42, which is what I try to do. So if we type in G, in English gematria, G equates to 42. So we'll go ahead and close that out. But as you see here, G, as I've indicated in the alphabetic order, A through Z, then A through Z again, lowercase, uppercase, you'll see that G falls into 33. And again, I haven't seen very many people mention this, so I'll say that the highest order of Freemasonry is the 33rd degree. Notice how in the alphabetic order, the 33rd letter is big G, or as I like to call it, big G. The symbol of Freemasonry is located right here. The compass and the square with G in the middle. We go on to know that the symbol of Freemasonry consists of the compass and square surrounding the big G. And Freemasons will have you believe that the G stands for one of two things. One, God, because Freemasonry dictates the order that in order to be a member, one must believe in a creator. This is a typo. So it's supposed to say God because Freemasonry dictates that in order to be a member, one must believe in a creator who is the architect of the universe. So again, that is what Freemasons will have you believe that G stands for. They will also have you believe that G stands for geometry, which is used not only in construction as far as Freemasonry goes, but that geometry is the founding principle of the universe. So G either stands for God or geometry as it relates to what Freemasons will have you believe. But again, I believe the G really stands for 33. So if you take a look at their symbol, 33 is enshrined in the symbol of Freemasonry, surrounded by the compass and square that is peaked with the all-seeing eye. Although, I understand this doesn't look exactly like the all-seeing eye, but it's an obvious representation of the all-seeing eye. This is my theory. I have not heard anyone mention that GE represents 33 the big way. I don't mean the big way. Zach, I believe, says big way, and he means something completely different. I'm talking about the alphabetic order when you write the letters A through Z lowercase, and then write the letters again in alphabetical order A through Z uppercase. Again, you will find that G represents 33 or the 33rd letter. By observing the alphabetic order, it is significant to note that G is the 33rd letter, which again is the highest level one can achieve in Freemasonry of the Scottish Rite. Here's a little picture of. I pulled this from a website. I don't remember what site I got it from, but it's just the idea to show that the 33rd degree is noted as the Sovereign Grand Inspector General, the Supreme Council. Something interesting to note of that would be to go to Wikipedia and take a look at, and this is something I want to touch on later on, Abraham Zapruder. Just really quick, Abraham Zapruder is the man that filmed the Kennedy assassination at Dealey Plaza by the Texas Book Depository in Dallas, Texas. One thing that I did not know about Abraham Zapruder, and again, I don't want to speak too much on it because this will be a whole nother vlog, but when we read down here the background of Abraham Zapruder, in 1933, he married Lillian Sapovnik, with whom he had 2 children. Zapruder was a Freemason and an Inspector General, which is a 33rd degree Mason of the Scottish Rite. This is something that I have never known. That Abraham Zapruder was a Freemason and at a 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite. That is something nobody tells you. That is something that apparently you have to figure out on your own. Ironic. Abraham Zapruder, a 33rd degree Freemason. The man to record the only known footage of John F. Kennedy's assassination. So, this is to conclude. If for no other reason, learning the alphabetic order will aid one in quick recall of where a letter falls as far as its numeric value within the number system. And one reason that is all interesting is because if you take Jesus, who died on the cross, and again, I'm only using quotations to illustrate the idea that Jesus and cross go hand in hand. I don't quote Jesus because I don't believe he exists. That's not my intent. I don't quote cross because of any ill will. That is not my intent. My intent is just to show that Jesus and cross go hand in hand. And in Gematria, both Jesus and cross have a numerology of 74. 74 is an important number to the ideology of Freemasonry. And as we go forward, we will see that to be true. So again, Jesus and cross in English ordinal, which is the English order, equals 74. The alphabetic order is interesting in that it is used to code and script our news, sports, and TV media. That is something I now believe. That is something when I was a kid I used to try to do myself. I used to add up the letters that build the names of like girls that I liked when I was a very young boy. And if their numbers matched the letters in my numbers, then, you know, it had me believe that I had a shot. Whether that's true or not, as far as that goes, is a whole nother story. But the point of that is to show that even as a child, this is what I did without even knowing that it was something that actually existed. I want to note that I don't believe everything we see in the media is rigged or scripted, but I do believe most of it is. I've said before, as far as like a football game goes, I don't think a game between the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals would be engineered to have a certain outcome, but I believe most of the games would, especially the important games, playoff games, not even playoff games, but games in the regular season that may decide seeding. And I don't know if I'm really going to do this, but it says here in my next blog, we're going to take a look at the 13 original colonies, and it should be interesting. And I end with to crack the code as we attempt to crack the code. TCTC. I may not do that. There's a lot of other things I've been looking at lately that I find a little more interesting than the 13 original colonies. And I want to go and see if I can open up this Gematria Calculator. Because it would be a shame to not take a look at it live. So again, if we go to English Ordinal, I'll do the breakdown. Jesus will equal Jesus will equal 74. 10J, 5E, 19S, 19S, U21. Added together will give you 74. Cross will also give you 74. 3 plus 18 plus 15 plus 19 plus 19. Just interesting to note that these two entities, Jesus Christ, who was crucified on the cross, both come to equal the number of 74. That is all I have for this particular blog. Again, the main point of this particular blog is just to look at the idea that within the alphabetic order, something that I found to be a little mind-blowing is when you write out the letters A through Z and then A through Z again capital, that G falls under the 33rd character as it relates to the alphabetic order. And in Freemasonry, their symbol is represented by this G, or 33. There's something that I forgot to mention when I quote-unquote discovered that the letter G in the alphabetic order falls under the number 33 when you write the alphabet out 1 through 26 and then capitalize 27 through 52. There's something that I forgot to mention. So I was really excited about this and I wanted to share it with somebody. So I went over to a person's house who's very close to me, and this person has alluded to the idea that they are a member of the Freemason, and I don't know that to be true. Whether it is or isn't, I don't know is the point. But here is the point. So this person who is close to me, that I've always believed was a Freemason, and if he is, it's fine. But I go over to his house, and I have this exciting discovery to share with him. The idea that I don't believe the G stands for God or geometry or whatever, that I have found that if you write the alphabetic order A through Z in lowercase, and then write the alphabetic order again, A through Z, but this time in uppercase, and number those letters, that you'll find that G falls under the 33rd principality, so to speak. I was telling this person this, and I thought they were gonna, confirm the idea that, yeah, that's what the G stood for, which obviously I should have known that he wouldn't. But just the idea that I would even see a glimmer in his eye that, oh wow, this person figured this out, that G does or does not stand for whatever we say or say it does not stand for, that it really stands for this. Again, they'll have you believe it stands for God or geometry, and I submit to you that the G actually stands for 33. Even though that we're told in Gematria that G is 42, it's just funny that G falls into the 33rd spot when you write out the letters alphabetically, A through Z lowercase and then A through Z uppercase. But when I told my friend this person who's very close to me, that I think G represented 33, this person's this person's whole entire demeanor changed. We were having a good conversation to begin with, and when I mentioned this, he completely closed off on me, and he didn't even want to talk about it anymore. As far as whatever it was that we're talking about, we're always talking about conspiracy in the news, and things of the sort like that. But when it came to this, and when I came to let him know that this is what I discovered, he didn't want to talk about it anymore, and I just found that to be very odd. And I wanted to share that with you, code breakers. Zachary Hubbard calls his people truth seekers. And my site is called To Crack the Code, and I was gonna say code crackers, but because of certain terminology in there, I think I'll go with code breaker. Because essentially that's what we are trying to do. We're trying to break codes that are written in our everyday language that is thrown in front of our faces every single day. And some see it, some don't see it. And the ones that do see it are often criticized, are often ridiculed and mocked. You're crazy. I even have a friend at work who himself is a conspiracy type theorist type person. He likes to get into all that. But he has even told me that I'm a little out there. And I don't know that I am, but you'll have to make that decision as we go along. Again, just wanted to note that I relayed this story, or this discovery, so to speak, to this friend of mine, and he immediately closed off, shut down, and didn't want to speak about it anymore. Just thought it was interesting and wanted to share that. Anyway, code breakers, that's this video. Thanks for watching. I hope to attain some traction. I hope to go forward with whatever it is that we're trying to figure out in this walk through life. Thank you. Have a good day.